Welcome to the deep dive, where we dig into the source material to pull out the real strategic thinking. Today, we're looking at a Hollywood track record that just seems to break all the rules. James Cameron.
Yeah, the director who, you could argue, basically invented the modern global blockbuster, or at least perfected its scale.
Absolutely. I mean, the films are legendary. Titanic, Avatar, The Way of Water. But what's really staggering, and why we're doing this deep dive, is he's the only director ever, with 3 films over $2 billion each worldwide.
3.
The total haul right now is what, over $7.5 billion? It's just immense.
It's more than just success, though. It's like he has a lock on the very top spots. Those 3 films are currently number 1, number 3, and number 4, globally, all time.
So our mission here, for you listening, isn't just to marvel at the numbers, it's to get inside the strategy. We want to trace the playbook behind this Avatar, Titanic box office empire, as some sources call it. How do you turn creative patience into these assets that last for decades and make billions?
Okay, let's unpack this, because this isn't about luck, right? We're looking for the method, the repeatable system.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, I think what you see is that this kind of generational success, it's not an accident. It really comes down to systemic choices. Cameron figured out early on, it seems, that winning big meant more than just making a good movie. He had to convert his creative ideas into like a proprietary operating system that could churn out these results.
Okay, so let's start with the foundation of that system. His view on money, on capital. For most filmmakers, money's a constraint, something you try to minimize,
Right. Keep the budget down.
But for Cameron, it's almost like research and development funding. It's the runway to build capability. That's exactly it. And that's the mindset shift that's not obvious. Instead of just looking at cash as, a line item on a P&L for this movie, he sees it as the investment needed to build something unique, something nobody else can do. Think about Avatar, how that started.
Right. The script mint, 1995.
He writes this detailed outline in 95.
Yeah.
And then just puts it on a shelf.
Yeah, but not just because he got busy. He explicitly said the technology wasn't there yet. He couldn't make the movie he saw in his head.
He waited for like a decade.
An entire decade, just waiting.
Waiting for performance capture tech to get good enough, for the 3D camera rigs to actually work properly, for companies like Wood Digital to build the processing power needed for Pandora. So yeah, he delayed the payday, but he did it specifically to fund the capability first.
But waiting 10 years, isn't that a huge risk? The world moves on, tastes change, someone else might beat you to the punch with similar tech.
Oh, absolutely. That risk is why most people don't wait, they rush.
So how did he manage that risk?
Well, crucially, he didn't just wait passively for the tech to appear. He helped fund its creation. When Avatar finally got the green light, the official budget was, $237 million?
Yeah, and that's before marketing.
Right. Marketing was confirmed at around $150 million minimum. So you're looking at this enormous R&D spend, and that investment essentially bought him the custom software, the hardware, the pipeline needed to render Pandora convincingly. He basically bought the means of production.
Which then delivered $2.9 billion.
Precisely. What's fascinating here is how some analysts frame it as this capital U.S. capability culture loop. Invest the capital way ahead of the curve, build proprietary capabilities nobody else has, use that to deliver a cultural event that feels unprecedented.
Which then justifies the huge initial cost and guarantees that massive return. He wasn't just buying cool effects, he was buying a kind of temporary monopoly on a certain kind of cinematic reality.
Yeah, a monopoly on awe, maybe.
Okay, so that investment in capability then feeds into his actual operational strategy. You look at his directing credits, Terminator 2, True Lies, Titanic, Avatar, Way of Water. There are these huge gaps in between, years. On paper, it looks like he barely works. But you're saying that scarcity, that slow pace, is deliberate.
Oh, absolutely. It's not a bug. It's a core feature of his brand architecture. He's not just making movies. He's building what the industry calls event-level IP, intellectual property. Every single release has to feel like a massive, global, can't-miss cultural moment. And the time cap, that's what builds the anticipation.
Right. So the wait itself becomes part of the value proposition. It's not a delay. It's priming the audience. So when a Cameron film finally lands, it doesn't feel like just another movie. It feels like this necessary, once-in-a-decade kind of reveal.
Exactly. And that scarcity directly fuels the I have to see this urgency. And maybe even more importantly for the bottom line, it encourages repeat viewings, especially in those premium formats, the expensive seats.
And these aren't just American blockbusters. He's designing them for global appeal right from the concept stage. You mentioned mythic clarity before.
Yeah, that's key. Wow. Stories lean really heavily on big visual spectacle, obviously, but also very clear, strong emotional arcs, universal myths. Think about Titanic. It's a doomed romance against this epic disaster. Avatar, it's the clash between, nature and resource extraction, the outsider joining the native tribe. These are foundational stories. They don't need a ton of culturally specific dialogue or intricate plotting to land. They travel well.
So the investment goes into the spectacle and the universal emotions, which makes them easier to translate, easier to connect with across different languages and cultures.
And the numbers just back that up completely. Avatar got, 73% of its total gross from outside North America?
73%.
And Way of Water was similar, around 71%. That tells you the international audience isn't an afterthought. It's fundamental to the whole economic model.
Which brings us to timing. Here's where it gets really interesting. The release date, the calendar itself, is part of the creative strategy.
He plays the long game. Titanic was December 97. Avatar, December 2009. Way of Water, December 2022.
Always December, the holiday corridor.
Yeah, and that's not an accident. He's avoiding the summer blockbuster season, which is crowded and films often burn out fast.
Launching in December lets the film build. You get the holiday weeks, people have time off, word of mouth spreads.
And crucially, it gives the film a long runway to maximize attendance in those premium formats. The 3D screens, the IMAX, the HFR.
HFR, high frame rate. You should probably explain that quicker.
For sure. So standard movies are 24 frames per second. HFR, which Cameron really pushed with Way of Water, is usually 48 frames per second. Why does it matter for business? Well, in 3D, especially with fast action, 24 frames can sometimes look a bit jerky or cause eye strain for some people.
Which might stop you going back to see it again.
Exactly. HFR smooths out the motion, makes the 3D potentially more comfortable, more immersive.
Yeah.
He's literally engineering the viewing experience to support repeat business at higher ticket prices.
It's all part of this marathon mentality, not a sprint, which connects to his core working style, the engineer, explorer, storyteller model. He doesn't just direct, he gets deep into the tech. He often seems to co-invent the tools he needs rather than just using what's available.
That co-invention piece is critical to owning that capability we talked about. He didn't just find a good 3D camera, he worked with Vince Pace to develop the Fusion 3D camera system specifically for his needs.
Built from the ground up.
Yeah, for a native stereoscopic capture, meaning filming in 3D from the start, not converting it later. That's why the 3D in his films feels so integrated, so dimensional, not like a gimmick tacked on afterwards.
And the explorer part isn't just a metaphor either. His deep sea diving.
Right, the 2012 solo dive to the bottom of the Mariana Trench in the Challenger Deep.
That wasn't just, an adventure for a documentary. It was R&D.
Absolutely. He was down there collecting actual data. How does light really behave at extreme depths? What does particulate matter look like? What are the textures? That real-world, hyper-realistic data feeds directly back into the films. It gives the bioluminescence, the underwater worlds, and Way of Water a level of authenticity that CGI artists probably couldn't achieve just from imagination. It's grounded.
That commitment to authenticity led to maybe the biggest challenge on Way of Water.
Yeah.
Refusing to do dry for wet.
Which is the standard industry practice.
Explain dry for wet quickly.
Sure. It's where you film actors on wires or motion capture stages in a dry studio, maybe with fans blowing their hair, pretending to be underwater. Then you add all the water effects with CGI later. It's cheaper. It's easier.
But Cameron wouldn't do it. Why?
Because water changes everything. How light bends, how bodies move, buoyancy, resistance. For him, capturing the real physics of being underwater was essential for the performance, for the emotional truth of the scene.
Emotional fidelity, he calls it.
That's the term. So they decided to do true underwater performance capture, something many people thought was basically impossible.
And the actors had to commit, too. Serious freediving training.
Yeah. Kate Winslet famously held her breath for over 7 minutes for a take.
Insane.
And they had to develop all this specialized gear, underwater motion capture suits, new camera housings, lighting systems that worked submerged, all to faithfully record the actors actually performing in water. The tech had to serve the performance, not limit it.
So it comes back to this decision philosophy. Emotion leads, but data, or maybe technology, decides how you achieve that emotion authentically. And he aims for that mythic clarity, not getting bogged down in overly complex plots. Simple, powerful stories, blue people fighting invaders, a sinking ship romance that work visually and emotionally, making them easy to rewatch, especially in those premium formats.
Right. Clean storytelling for those big screens. And the final layer of this strategy, maybe, is treating each film not just as a movie, but as a platform decision, thinking really long-term.
Like how he hedged against the child actors aging.
Exactly. By filming scenes for Avatar 3 at the same time as Avatar 2, he locked in their performances while they were the right age. That secures narrative continuity for years, maybe a decade down the line. Huge time risk mitigation.
And the re-releases, people sometimes scoff, but they're strategic.
Totally. The 2022 re-release of the original Avatar wasn't just a cash grab, though it made money.
It was marketing.
Cash-positive marketing. It got Pandora back into the cultural conversation, reminded people why they loved it, and crucially, it got theaters set up and audiences comfortable with 3D again right before Way of Water hit. It prepared the ground.
He designs these things as entire ecosystems from the start, doesn't he? With the cultures, the creatures, the languages.
Yeah, they're built to be extensible. To support sequels, yes, but also theme park lands, games, exhibitions for decades without feeling thin or diluted. He's architecting a world, not just a single story.
So, what does this all mean? When you strip it all back, I think the core lesson from this deep dive is, well, that big emotions scale globally and breakthrough technology compounds its advantage over time. But you have to give them time, like a decade of time. Cameron isn't planning for opening weekends. He's architecting decades.
That's it, exactly. That strategic loop is so clear when you look at it. Use capital to build unique capability that serves powerful emotions. Launch that as a must-see cultural event that justifies the investment. Then reinvest the huge win into even better capability for the next round. He built audience trust through technological mastery and spectacle, and that trust became a habit. People know a camera film will deliver something they can't get elsewhere, and that habit built the empire.
So the mindset you, the listener, could potentially steal here. Maybe stop seeing scarcity like long development times as purely a negative. Think about making it a feature, building anticipation.
And realize that the cost of being early, of waiting for the tech or even building it yourself, yeah, it's high. But it might actually be lower than the cost of just being another voice in the crowd, being ultimately forgettable. Cameron used technology to build trust, and that trust built the audience, and that audience built the box office records. He didn't just play the game, he built a new level.